Iran that the Russian foreign ministry for Putin took us on, but we're not going to be intimidated.
Speaking of taking folks on, you've got some thoughts about the new congresswoman from the Bronx, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She was giving herself some praise recently. Listen.
Okay.
The power is in the person who's trying, regardless of the success. Like, I just introduced Green New Deal 2 weeks ago, and it's creating all of this conversation. Why? Because no one else has even tried. So people are like, oh, it's unrealistic. Oh, it's vague. Oh, it doesn't address this little minute thing. And I'm like, you try. You do it. Because you're not. So until you do it, I'm the boss.
Senator, she says she's the boss. Others have called her the leader of the Democratic Party. Your take on where the party is headed?
Yeah, well, I hope not. I mean, look, she's a congresswoman. She won a primary. She didn't get an enormous number of votes, but she got enough to win. She's one congresswoman. Incidentally, she's not typical of the new Democrats who've been elected to the Congress. Most of them are center or left, not far left, because they won in swing districts. That's how the House went Democratic. So she's got a right to speak out, but what she just said made no sense at all, because I can tell you, I worked on bipartisan climate change legislation for probably a dozen years in the Senate with John McCain, Lindsey Graham, John Warner, John Kerry. And so a lot goes before. She really ought to do some reading of history before she makes statements like that. But okay, she stirred up interest in climate change.
I'm sitting with you now looking at the vice presidential candidate to Al Gore. Gore wrote Earth in the Balance. Ocasio-Cortez was 11 years old, if I do the math correctly, when you ran and that came out. And now she's saying no one's trying.
But what about her comments to you about, look, this is the new Democratic Party? You got on Twitter back and forth with her, and she said, who dis, right? I mean...
Yeah, who dis.
Right.
So, dis me. And I've been around a while. Here's the point. In the American political system, the time that the parties really say what they're about is when they nominate a presidential candidate. This is just beginning, and I'm saying that if Ocasio-Cortez is the leader of the pack as we go into the presidential primaries next year, a candidate's going to be nominated who simply cannot get elected, because America doesn't support the kind of big government, socialistic, extreme, and immigration and customs enforcement that she's been talking about. So she's got a voice, but let's not give it, let's not listen to it more than it deserves.
But, I mean, if you look at the polls, Bernie Sanders leading in New Hampshire. You've got Kamala Harris. You've got Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, Joe Biden. Some of those folks have been talking about reparations and amnesty and open borders, Medicare for all, slashing Defense Department spending, the Green New Deal. I mean, that feels like where the soul of the Democrat Party is.
Yeah, well, that's not where the soul of America is, and that's what worries me. And obviously, I hope as this goes on that other candidates will get into it who will speak to the broad center ground of American politics, and to speak to people who want to have this fighting and want to see left, right, Democrats, Republicans come to the center, negotiate, compromise, solve some problems for America, and keep America strong. In the end, keep America strong and keep the American economy strong. That's really what matters most to people. And the program that you just talked about, Pete, that doesn't speak to those concerns.
Well,